These are two $8 fixes that can restore your car's AC power, but mechanics would rather charge you $650 instead. Every summer, the same thing happens. You turn on your air conditioning expecting that familiar blast of Arctic relief, and instead you get what feels like a hair dryer set to mildly disappointing. The air barely moves, and what little does come out feels more like a gentle suggestion of coolness rather than the bone-chilling freeze you remember from last year. You start making excuses. Maybe it's just hotter this year. Maybe you're imagining things. Maybe this is just what happens when cars get older. But deep down, you know something's wrong, and you're dreading that inevitable trip to the mechanic where they'll diagnose your problem with the enthusiasm of a coroner and hand you a repair estimate that makes your mortgage payment look reasonable. Here's what they won't tell you. There's a 90% chance your broken air conditioning can be fixed for less than $10 and 15 minutes of your time. No special tools, no technical expertise, just a trip to Walmart and the willingness to pop your hood or open your glove box. But before we get to these fixes, you need to understand why your AC is betraying you in the first place. Because the automotive air conditioning industry has been built on a foundation of beautiful lies and profitable mysteries. Let's start with the biggest lie of all, that your car's AC system is sealed. Mechanics love to talk about your air conditioning like it's some kind of hermetically sealed vault where refrigerant lives forever in perfect harmony. In reality, your AC system leaks like a government official at a press conference. The Society of Automotive Engineers, the same people who designed the fittings on your car, actually built an acceptable leakage rate right into the specs. They consider it perfectly normal for your system to lose a quarter ounce of refrigerant per fitting per year, and your car has multiple fittings. Do the math, and you're looking at a system that's designed to slowly hemorrhage its lifeblood by design. But it gets worse. Scientific research shows that even well-maintained systems lose 10 to 15% of their refrigerant annually through what experts politely call natural decline. Mechanics see older cars routinely losing 1 to 2 ounces per year through completely normal wear and tear. Your AC isn't breaking down, it's just following its programming. Here's where the math gets cruel. If your system is just 10% low on refrigerant, you'll lose 40% of the oil circulation that keeps your compressor alive. But you won't notice any reduction in cooling until you've lost 40% of your refrigerant. By the time you feel the problem, your system is already critically damaged, and today's cars make this problem worse. Older vehicles used to carry upwards of 36 ounces of refrigerant, enough buffer to handle years of gradual loss without breaking a sweat. Modern cars, in the name of efficiency and cost cutting, run on as little as 15 ounces. Lose just 6 ounces in one of these new systems, and you've crossed into the danger zone where real damage starts happening. This brings us to the first $8 fix that nobody talks about, the cabin air filter. 9 times out of 10, when people complain about weak airflow, the problem isn't mechanical failure or refrigerant loss. It's a $20 filter that's been ignored for 30,000 miles and is now clogged with enough debris to qualify as a small ecosystem. Your cabin air filter sits between the outside world and your face, catching everything from pollen and dust to the occasional fast food wrapper that somehow found its way into your ventilation system. Over time, this filter transforms from a barely noticeable mesh into something resembling a felt blanket made of compressed dirt and regret. The symptoms are obvious once you know what to look for. Your AC starts feeling weak, but only in terms of airflow. The air coming out might still be cold, but it's moving with all the urgency of a government bureaucrat on a Friday afternoon. You find yourself cranking the fan speed higher and higher, but instead of more air, you just get more noise. Here's the beautiful part. This filter is almost always accessible without tools. Most modern cars hide it behind the glove box, under the cowl at the base of your windshield, or in the passenger footwell. Pop a few clips, slide out the old filter, slide in the new one, and you've just restored your airflow to factory specifications. Walk into any auto parts store, and you'll find a wall of AC recharge products that look like they were designed by a committee of sadistic marketers. Cans with names like Arctic Blast and Ice Cold Pro promise to fix everything wrong with your AC system using proprietary blends of refrigerant, oil, sealants, and what I can only assume is ground up unicorn horn. Ignore all of it. What you want is pure R134A refrigerant in a 12-ounce can, available at Walmart for about $8 to $12. No sealants, no mystery additives, no promises to fix leaks or restore lost cooling power, just refrigerant. Here's why this matters. Those fancy recharge kits with sealants might work temporarily, but they're essentially injecting liquid Band-Aid into a precision system. The sealant can clog your expansion valve, gum up your compressor, and turn a simple recharge into a $1,000 repair nightmare. Professional technicians have seen so many systems destroyed by these products that many won't even work on cars where DIY sealants have been used. The actual recharge process is embarrassingly simple. You connect the can to your car's low pressure port. It's usually marked and designed so you can't connect it to the wrong place. You start your engine, turn your AC to maximum cold, and slowly add refrigerant while monitoring the air temperature coming from your vents. The whole process takes about 15 minutes and costs between $8 and $12 for the refrigerant. Compare that to the $150 to $250 most shops charge for a professional recharge, and you start to understand why they don't advertise this option. But here's where it gets interesting. The professional recharge includes leak checking, system evacuation, and precise measurement of refrigerant by weight. The DIY approach is more like adding oil to your engine. You're topping off a system that's low, not rebuilding it from scratch. And for many people, that's exactly what they need. If you have a small leak that causes your system to lose efficiency over 2 or 3 years, an annual $8 top-off makes perfect financial sense compared to hunting down and repairing a leak that might cost hundreds to fix properly. One car owner reported using this approach for over a decade. I add 1 or 2 cans every spring at less than $10 per can. I'm still way ahead of the cost of replacing the compressor, accumulator, and expansion valve, plus labor. Another claimed their DIY recharge lasted 10 years for $12 total. Of course, this approach has limitations. If your system is completely empty, you probably have a major leak that needs professional attention. If you're adding refrigerant every few months, you're dealing with a problem that won't be solved with a can of R134A. But for the vast majority of people dealing with gradually declining AC performance, these fixes address the root cause. Now let's talk about why this information isn't more widely known. The automotive service industry generates billions of dollars annually from air conditioning repairs, with the average American paying around $650 for AC work. Minor repairs average $475, while major repairs can run $2,500 or more. These aren't inherently dishonest numbers. Professional AC work involves expensive equipment, specialized training, and genuine expertise. But the industry has a vested interest in making sure you don't know about the simple fixes, because simple fixes don't pay the bills. Consider the markup on cabin air filters. The same filter that costs you $8 at Walmart becomes a $60 service at the dealership. They'll tell you it needs to be replaced every 12,000 miles, which happens to coincide with your regular service intervals. They'll show you the old filter, black with accumulated debris, and explain how this is affecting your air quality and system efficiency. All of which is true, but they'll fail to mention that you could have replaced it yourself in 5 minutes for a fraction of the cost. The refrigerant situation is even more profitable. A professional recharge involves recovering any remaining refrigerant, checking for leaks, evacuating the system to remove moisture and air, and refilling with a precise amount of new refrigerant. This process requires expensive equipment and genuine expertise, which justifies the professional pricing. But many cars don't need this level of service. They just need more refrigerant. The difference is like the gap between changing your own oil and having your engine rebuilt. Both involve oil, but they're addressing completely different problems. Here's what's really happening to your AC system over time. Your car's air conditioning works by exploiting the thermodynamic properties of refrigerant, which changes from liquid to gas and back again as it moves through the system. The compressor creates pressure, the condenser removes heat, the expansion valve creates a pressure drop, and the evaporator absorbs heat from your cabin air. This process requires 3 things: proper refrigerant levels, clean airflow, and functioning mechanical components. The gradual decline you experience every summer is almost always related to the first 2, not the third. Refrigerant loss is inevitable. Even in a perfect system, microscopic amounts of refrigerant permeate through hoses and seals. Add in normal wear, temperature cycling, and the occasional rock chip to a condenser line, and you're looking at steady, predictable loss over time. Meanwhile, your cabin air filter is collecting everything that flows through your ventilation system. In normal driving, this includes pollen, dust, exhaust particles, and general atmospheric debris. In certain climates or driving conditions, it can also include sand, sand, salt, or industrial pollutants. A filter that starts life as an unrestricted airway gradually becomes a barrier that chokes off airflow and forces your system to work harder for diminishing results. Both problems develop so gradually that you adapt without realizing it. This year's weak AC becomes next year's normal until you reach the point where you're driving around in what feels like a mobile sauna while convincing yourself that air conditioning just isn't what it used to be. The environmental angle adds another layer of complexity to this story. The refrigerant in your car, R134A, has a global warming potential of 1,430 times that of carbon dioxide. This means that every ounce that leaks from your system has the environmental impact of releasing nearly 90 pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere. The EPA has responded to this by implementing production cuts that began in 2022 with a 10% reduction, followed by an additional 30% cut in 2024. By 2029, total production will be reduced by 70%, which means prices are going to continue climbing. This makes the DIY approach even more attractive from a resource conservation standpoint. Professional service involves recovering and recycling existing refrigerant, but it also uses significantly more resources and energy than a simple top-off. If your system needs 2 ounces of refrigerant, adding 2 ounces makes more sense than recovering, evacuating, and refilling the entire system. Newer vehicles are already switching to R1234YF, a refrigerant with a global warming potential of just 4. But this transition creates its own problems. R1234YF costs about 5 times more than R134A and requires different equipment for service. Cars using this newer refrigerant typically cost $200 to $400 for a professional recharge. The irony is that automotive air conditioning was originally developed as a luxury feature for wealthy buyers. The first factory air conditioning option, offered by Packard in 1939, cost $274 at a time when the average annual income was $1,368. That's roughly 20% of an entire year's salary for cold air. By 1973, 70% of new cars came with air conditioning. Today, it's virtually universal. 99% of new vehicles include AC as standard equipment. What started as an extravagant luxury has become an essential safety feature, especially as global temperatures continue to rise. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration points out that interior car temperatures can exceed 115 degrees when the outside temperature is just 70 degrees. In extreme heat, a non-functioning air conditioning system isn't just uncomfortable, it's potentially lethal. This brings us back to the fundamental question: why isn't this information more widely available? The answer is a combination of legitimate safety concerns and economic self-interest. The legitimate concerns are real. Refrigerant is under pressure and can cause frostbite if mishandled. Overcharging a system can damage the compressor. Using the wrong refrigerant can cause expensive damage. Adding refrigerant to a system with major leaks is throwing good money after bad, but these risks are manageable with basic precautions and common sense. The bigger issue is that widespread adoption of DIY maintenance would disrupt a profitable service industry. Consider the economics from a shop's perspective. A professional AC recharge might generate $200 in revenue for an hour of labor and $20 worth of refrigerant. A cabin air filter replacement might generate $60 for 10 minutes of work on a $5 part. These aren't unreasonable profits given the overhead cost of running a professional service facility, but they depend on customers not knowing about the alternatives. The solution isn't to eliminate professional AC service. Complex problems require professional solutions. But simple problems deserve simple fixes, and car owners deserve to know the difference. If your AC is blowing weak but cold air, try the cabin air filter first. If it's blowing strong but warm air, check your refrigerant level. If both fixes fail, or if you're uncomfortable with DIY maintenance, take it to a professional. But don't let anyone convince you that your only option is a $600 repair when an $8 solution might be exactly what you need. Your wallet will thank you, your comfort will improve, and you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the simplest answer really is the right one. The next time summer rolls around and your AC starts feeling weak, remember that the difference between comfortable and miserable might be hiding behind your glove box or sitting on a shelf at Walmart, because the best fix is often the one nobody wants to tell you about.